It's no secret that I am not a fan of Alien Earth. I've recorded 6 hours worth of material explaining why I'm not a fan of Alien Earth. However, I've also said that I think I could do better, at the very least with fixing their scripts. Hey, FX, I'm available if you want to hit me up, as there are so many ludicrous and obvious faults with the writing that I feel a trained monkey could probably solve some of the problems with the scripts. Hang on, did I just compare myself to a trained monkey? Yeah, tracks. Anyway, following a conversation with the inside man who has a storied career in film production, I thought that I would put my money where my mouth was, basically. He urged me to give it a go. I've given it a little bit of thought. Not loads, I've not been able to put loads of time into this, but a few hours at least, and I've got a concept and some ideas that I feel would make for a better Alien show. Now, I did give myself carte blanche to discard and adopt whatever I liked from Alien Earth, because I genuinely do think that Alien Earth doesn't work. The idea of having the aliens on Earth before the events of Alien is ludicrous. I don't know why entertainment has this obsession with prequels. Prequel after prequel after prequel. It is infuriating at this point. You just write yourself into a narrative cul-de-sac. You're not really giving yourself the opportunity to creatively spread your wings when you're limited by what's going to happen later in the series, assuming you care about it. So I said, look, I can keep what I want, get rid of what I want. I'm going to make a better Alien show. At the end of it, it might not even be Alien Earth, but this is going to be a better Alien show. I had free reign on this. Without further ado, let's have a look at my idea of what Alien Earth could have been. First of all, we're going to need to look at the time, where we're going to set this Alien series of mine. Alien Earth is set in 2120, 2 years before the events of Alien. As I've said before, this is stupid. It writes you into a narrative cul-de-sac. It stunts you creatively with what you can do, and the writers weren't good enough to work their way around it, leading to an entire slew of non sequiturs and plot points that just didn't work. So that's out of the window. My place to put Alien Earth would be between Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. Now, bear with me here. Alien 3 marks an end point for Ripley's story and the Alien saga in general, because she's thrown herself into molten metal, and with that, Weyland-Yutani's last chance of the Alien project is gone. We have to assume that the Alien derelict ship on LV-426 is destroyed when Hadley's Hope blew up. If you remember correctly, Bishop said it would be an area the size of Nebraska.
There's still time.
In 19 minutes, this area is going to be a cloud of vapor the size of Nebraska.
We can assume that the Alien derelict is gone. So their last chance of the Alien project is also gone. This allows me a new concept for the TV series. Having lost the opportunity to take advantage of the xenomorph bioweapon, Weyland-Yutani has changed its priority. It's given up on the Alien project. This is around about 2200, about 20 years after Alien 3, about 180 years before Alien Resurrection, which takes place 2380-ish, long before cloning technology gives the opportunity to bring Ripley back and obtain the alien that way. Instead, they're looking at creating a hybrid super soldier army. So I'm adopting the hybrid idea from Alien Earth. However, rather than doing it all the way back in 2120, which is stupid, I'm bringing it all the way to 2200, when we can imagine that maybe we would have that technology. It makes no sense having technology more advanced than Ash and Bishop all the way back then. And this is one of the problems with prequels. So, 2200, Weyland-Yutani abandoned the Alien project and instead looking to make hybrids as super soldiers for space exploration and combat. However, when the Maginot, a ship sent out to collect alien specimens that went missing generations earlier, suddenly reappears, Weyland-Yutani sees an opportunity to resume their development of the ultimate bioweapon. The remote space station Genesis will be the new battleground for the latest clash between man and the xenomorph. Now, the reasons for the remote space station is, although the aliens do have to make it to Earth eventually, I don't necessarily want this to be in the first season. I'd rather have it be as a climax to the season. The first season, I want to be able to set up all of the issues and all of the concepts for this story. So we've got this remote space station, Genesis. Why a remote space station? Well, one, it leaves it far away enough from Earth that they can't just send loads and loads of soldiers out to fix it. And B, we have this situation where I would think that the stuff that Weyland-Yutani is doing is pretty dodgy. Taking people and putting them in robot bodies, I imagine it's against all sorts of human rights. So the remote space station being beyond jurisdiction and allowing them to conduct clandestine experiments makes sense to me. Let me just present to you the first scene. Space. The Maginot appears. It's drifting through space, completely unpowered, completely silent. We move through the bridge and we see everything's off. Some lights are flashing. You can even put that little helmet in there if you want to. But as time goes on, we see that things are not right. The camera moves around the ship. We see the cryo bay. Some of the pods are empty. The ones that are occupied have crew members with face huggers attached. We then start to see acid damage, bodies. In the lab, there's a wrecked synth. And finally, we get to the cargo bay, where we see collected specimens that are in cryo, but one of the containers is open, and that one has open eggs in it. We go to the titles. I wouldn't call this Alien Earth. I'd call this Alien Genesis. So, moving on to the setting. No prodigy. This is all about Weyland-Yutani. In fact, this series will be about the fall of Weyland-Yutani and why in Alien Resurrection there is no Weyland-Yutani, with the military taking over, and they're the ones that are developing the alien. There will be hybrids, as I've mentioned, but they won't be children because that's stupid. Instead, as I've said, it's about Weyland-Yutani looking to make super soldiers. Synths are just too expensive and limited because of AI. Human brains, in theory, will work better with their intuition and instinct and will. This is carrying across something that Morrow said in Alien Earth, which I really liked, that humans would always prevail because of their will. And here you've got the basic sci-fi tenets, and they will be discussed a lot by scientists. After all, this is a new genesis for mankind, hence the name of the show. At the same time, you have the discovery of the Maginot, which throws a spanner in the works as Weyland-Yutani once again becomes more interested in a bioweapon. A team is sent from Earth as Weyland-Yutani changes its priority to recovering the alien creature. And this leads to inherent conflict between the scientific approach that's being taken on the station and the more militaristic approach that is then adopted as Weyland-Yutani senses an opportunity. So, what else do I need to incorporate? Well, the aliens do need to get to Earth, otherwise I can't really consider this to be an alternate version. However, as I've already alluded to, I don't really want this to happen until the end of the season. It won't be too difficult to do, but let's have this first season set up all the concepts, all the characters, and end with the aliens getting to Earth. If I get a second season, great, I can go on from there. If not, the audience can extrapolate the shit show that it's going to turn into. After all, at the end of Alien Resurrection, I think the character is Jonas, played by Ron Perlman, says Earth, what a shithole. So, yeah, you can extrapolate between those two. We have a remote station that intercepts the Maginot. Maybe with tug ships, it could take a while to get back. I want to show the journeys. I want to show how long it takes for things to happen. One thing that drives me absolutely insane with modern storytelling is when things teleport, when there's no concept of time or distance. And we're going to get into that in a minute, particularly with Alien Earth, where I've discovered a few things that just, again, don't make sense. So they intercept the Maginot, bring it back with tug ships. Sadly, they find out too late that the ship contains active aliens. I like the idea that with no prey available to them, they go into a suspended animation. The ones with facehuggers are in cryo. Cryo reduces metabolism to near zero. The facehuggers shouldn't hatch. There should be no chest bursters. Again, Alien Earth got this wrong. So, without prey available, the aliens go into like a suspended animation state. Maybe they've hived a corner of the ship somewhere and they're lurking in wait, suspended animation, waiting for prey to get close. But this is discovered too late, And over the course of the season, the station is lost. We're going to have proper security defence team fighting, loads of action, and the station will be lost sector by sector as a hive is established. We get to see one of the chestbursters is a queen, just like Ripley's, and this is to be fed royal jelly to turn it into a proper queen and establish a hive. Eventually, the humans lose Genesis and they have to evacuate and get to Earth, but they end up taking alien stowaways. Now, I'm not sure if I would destroy the space station or maybe I would leave it and Wayland Yutani could attempt to take it back later. We can revisit it in a later season. I'm not too sure on that. This is just a loose concept, but that's what would happen in this first season. Going into a little bit more detail, the Maginot, as I've said, sent out to recover alien specimens, lost for generations, reappears, giving Wayland Yutani an opportunity to resume the alien project. Unfortunately, Alien Romulus throws a bit of a spanner into the works time-wise. We can't send the Maginot out to collect the alien specimens like they do in Alien Earth. It makes no sense. You need to consider here that the Nostromo was about 10 months away from Earth when it was redirected to LV-426 to investigate the beacon. Wayland Yutani sent the Maginot out on a 65-year mission. Most of the crew are in their 20s. And we've already established that they don't spend a lot of time in cryo. You can see the problem here, surely. It doesn't work. So I can't send it all the way back then. The Sulaco in 2179 got to LV-426 in 3 weeks. And that makes sense because you can imagine it's a more advanced ship, been big advancements in faster than light travel. So we need to reconsider when the Maginot goes out. And considering all of this and the fact that Alien Romulus happens around about 2142 to 45, I think the best time to send the Maginot out is after Romulus. And around about 2150, Romulus is confirmed destroyed, and Wayland Yutani is like, okay, we've lost all of the bioweapons material on that station. It doesn't make a great deal of sense because they've been printing facehuggers, reverse engineering facehuggers, and they have hundreds of them. It's ridiculous to think that Wayland Yutani would allow all of that to stay on the station. Unfortunately, Romulus doesn't answer these questions, and that's one of the reasons why Romulus just isn't a great film. I'm sorry, it's not. But we do have a situation where Wayland Yutani loses contact with Romulus and maybe sends out the Maginot. So it's like, okay, the Maginot needs to go out. We need to send it out to LV-426. We can assume by this stage that the beacon has been disabled. We can extrapolate from a conversation that James Cameron had where he did say that there was going to be shots in Aliens that would show that the beacon had been disabled on the ship by volcanic activity and the derelict had been partly buried due to it. So what we can say is that Wayland Yutani, in desperation, sends out the Maginot, look, just go to that general area, because we can extrapolate roughly where it was, we know roughly where it was, and try and find the planet. At all costs, recover the alien species. That's your entire mission, is to recover the alien species and the eggs. And once again, in Alien Earth, we still don't know how the eggs got onto the decks of the Maginot with only one alien. That alien can't lay those eggs. I'm sorry, it just can't. So this is the best I can do, unfortunately, is to send the Maginot out around about 2150 on this mission to reappear around about 70 years later. So it goes out there, it's like a year's journey out there. They complete their mission, we can say that may take a year or two, and then on the way back, shortly after they leave, it all goes wrong, the alien escapes or is let loose by somebody, I don't know, one or the other. Not as sabotage, that would be stupid, I'd rather do it through carelessness. I'd rather say, look, not all of the crew are idiots, but one of them is careless, and the alien escapes. So it's all gone horribly wrong, the Maginot is disabled, knocked out of faster than light travel, and then just drifts for ages until it comes back into range of a remote station. I think that's the best move. After that, I mean, you've got to imagine that this would have cost them billions, if not trillions, to keep sending this stuff out. And that would represent the end of their opportunity to get the creature. Aliens would then take place where Ripley is rediscovered. This would be 29 years after the Maginot sent out, and the Maginot obviously has not been heard from. And with Ripley, they have another chance. Like, okay, right, we can go back to LV-426. The beacon's gone. They don't know exactly where it is, but they've expanded their colony program to LV-426, set up a colony there. Burke gets the information from Ripley and then sends the family out to go and investigate to see if the derelict's there. Just go to those coordinates and see if the derelict's there with what the information that Ripley's provided. This is all roughly making sense now. The events of Aliens take place. They lose the Sulaco. Hadley's Hope is destroyed, and with it, the alien derelict. Burke is killed. Wayne and Yutani say, right, no more. Find out that Ripley has been found. Right, okay, another opportunity. Send the human that inspired the Bishop android out there to try and plead with Ripley. She throws herself in the lava. That's the end of the Alien Project. Wayne Yutani has no more recourse. However, when the Maginot appears, Wayne and Yutani have an opportunity to carry on with the programme. This is all roughly making sense at the moment. I've got a feeling there might be some things that I've missed and some things that might need to be ironed out, but this is your basic concept. We can send the Maginot out in 2150, which is about 100 years after it was supposed to go the first time, and roughly this is going to make sense. This is going to work. There's your core concepts. We now need to have a quick look at characters. Obviously, we're going to have some scientists on the space station. We're going to have some security teams on the space station. Who's being turned into these hybrids? Now, I did think that the terminally ill angle in Alien Earth was an interesting one. If you want these to be some kind of super soldier, then I think you would go sort of a fatally wounded soldier. But then that would mean that you would need to have an ongoing conflict, and you would need to get soldiers sent to the space station unless you're going to try and use veterans. And it all gets a little bit convoluted. So my angle would be leaning back upon Alien 3 and the fact that they said that the Wayne and Yutani have been shutting down these mining prisons, and that Dylan and his guys stayed on, basically, and offered to run the place. I would use prisoners. So Wayne and Yutani has taken these prisoners who effectively don't exist anymore, they're on life sentences, and is trying to turn them into hybrids and super soldiers. So you've got masculine super soldiers with inbuilt violent tendencies. You're going to give them kill switches, because what kind of moron would build unpredictable robots without a way to disable them? And as I've said, due to human rights issues, it's all in remote space outside of any jurisdiction. So you can have a load of prisoners on board this space station that are going to be fodder for the aliens. Because we need to have people on this space station to establish an alien hive, otherwise it's not going to work. So far, we're pretty much where we need to be for a loose concept for an Alien series, I think. And I'm kind of happy with what we've got here. So let's just re-establish what's not going to make it in from Alien Earth. Any Peter Pan bullshit. Children. Prodigy. And talking to aliens. Now, we can have this explored. We can even have the scientists like, okay, you've got these alien creatures here, before it goes absolutely tits up. Maybe we should try talking to them or something like that. The Bioweapons Division's like, no, you just don't worry about that. And we can have some conflict there. Also, sadly, what else is not going to make it in is the extra aliens. The Fly, the alien, which just turned into Grogu from The Mandalorian, let's be honest. Plant alien. Oh, the ticks. And the ticks. They're not going to be in this. All they do is take focus away from the Xenomorph. And this is meant to be an alien show. It's meant to be part of the alien universe. One of the things with Alien Earth is I thought it would be better without the Xenomorph in it. As a standalone show, it had a lot of science fiction concepts that I found very, very interesting. But all of them detracted from it being an alien show and being set in that universe. And it seems that all that they want to do at the moment is just make it without aliens in it. So, yeah, that's gone. No aliens, dog, attack, dog. Completely wrong. Don't like any of it. Things from Alien Earth that will make it in. Kirsch. Great character. Rework him. He's going to be a brilliant character in this show. Same for Morrow. Reworked. Would I still make him a cyborg? I'm not sure. I like the concept of cyborgs. I like this half man, half machine idea. Again, lends itself to classic science fiction, the nature of man versus technology, man versus nature, artificial versus the biological. These are all science fiction concepts that have stood the test of time, from Asimov through to Clarke, through to Hamilton. They're all things that have been explored by science fiction authors. So yeah, that's going to make it in. Arthur is also going to make it in. He's going to be the head scientist. He's going to be reworked. He's not married to Sylvia. I will put Sylvia in the show, though. Very interesting to have a maternal position on it. Maternal position, feminine position. This offers a alternative to the masculine military nature of their development. You're going to need a military bioweapons division leader to be a foil for these scientists. Hybrids will be included because I like the concept, but again, they're now prisoners that are being experimented on. So this series is going to have loads of action, loads of debating the nature of artificial intelligence versus humanity. We're going to have conflict between the scientist and bioweapons divisions, and I think this solves a lot of problems that Alien Earth had. No more backing into a narrative corner. The hybrids being adults means they can be thrown as soldiers and fight and be killed. I mean, the concept of child soldiers with artificial adult bodies could be compelling in its own right in a different film, in a different series, but it just throws up too many questions regarding how they act. And I got sick of seeing adults acting like children. Moron children. They weren't developing at all. Here, we can show these hybrids being stronger than the average man. Not insanely super strong like Wendy was. No Mary Sue's here, or Marcy Sue's. Just stronger than the average man, like Ash was, like Bishop was. More durable, certainly, but not the super standards that Alien Earth put in, which just screwed everything up that came afterwards. Problems with the Maginome are completely resolved. No more real-time communications with a company that shouldn't exist, or at least shouldn't be known about. Cavalier is 23 years old. He made the synth when he was 6. He said the synth was the one that developed the company and took over his role as a father after killing his abusive, drunkard father. What a trope. Therefore, we can assume that Prodigy is 17 years old. If the Maginot's on a 65-year mission, how could it know about Prodigy? It couldn't. It didn't exist when it went out there. Do you think they're going to get news updates saying a new company, Prodigy's been set up? No. Ridiculous. And the fact that there was real-time communication also completely breaks the back of the Alien series. We know this isn't possible. The Nostromo was only 10 months away and couldn't communicate with Earth. They had to use Mother, which is an AI system programmed with the best interests of the company. And this is what the Maginot used. Why didn't the Maginot just talk to Earth if they could? No, doesn't make any sense. So, in my version of the series, there's no more on crew. There's no shift work or interrupted cryosleep. We're just showing the aftermath of what's happened. We don't need to show what happened on the Maginot at all. We don't need a whole episode that apes Alien and just does it incredibly badly, basically becoming an insult to the source material. We can have it all shown through logs or footage rediscovered. Think like Event Horizon, something like that. We can then devote more time from the series to the stuff that actually matters, which is Genesis being lost. Overall, my version of Alien Earth, which I've renamed Alien Genesis, is high on horror and science fiction concepts, on the sanctity of life and humanity. The first season ends with the survivors making it to Earth, but with stowaway eggs, or facehuggers maybe, setting up a second season that will be all-out war, as Weyland-Yutani tries to contain the threat. There is just one more concept that I'd half considered, but I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if it's a bit hokey, a bit on the nose. I'll present it here anyway. I did have the idea of the first successful hybrid being the 7th attempt, and being called Adam. It's an obvious reference to the 7-day creation concept, but it ties into Genesis and that whole new start for mankind idea. As I say, perhaps a little bit on the nose, but it could be interesting, being developed further as more than just a concept. I also toyed with the idea of maybe having one of the prisoners being a falsely accused innocent, as we want a hero character, and I don't want them all being psychos. But again, this goes far beyond the loose concept that I am presenting here. Anyway, that's my ideas of how I would do Alien Earth, but better. Let me know what you think down below, and feel free to offer your own suggestions. Until then, I've been Critic AL, and I'll be back with another video soon.